Say that again.
I think I should get in trouble more often, actually, because when you get in trouble, you know you're on the edge of something.
Yes, I agree. And if I look, well, actually, if you look back, well, I don't know if you've been in trouble many times. I'm not sure if I've been, always been really. I'm the kind of person that I stick to the speed limit, stop at a red light,
Ah,
that kind of stuff. But as a kid, obviously, you try stuff out, and
yeah.
you make your mistakes. I think you learn so much from mistakes. You learn so much about doing things wrong, on purpose or not, or usually not on purpose, but but uh, but
Well,
it's
that's the
something.
interesting thing because my trouble were usually like calculated risk.
Oh,
I'd be
really?
like, I know I could get in trouble, but yeah, it's worth it.
I don't know. What kind of trouble are we talking about?
One time I staged a protest against my high school. They
Ah,
so they didn't like that, and I knew it could get me in trouble,
oh,
but
oh,
I kind of like calculated the risk.
oh, okay.
I've gotten a few speeding tickets, and but in the
Mm,
United States, it's much more open. The Netherlands is much more populated.
okay.
But so but I
Yeah.
know that I know the price of the speeding ticket, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's not going to destroy me.
Ah, I can afford it.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, I got speeding tickets. I think when you drive a car, that happens because sometimes I just don't know speed limit. I go like, how
Yes.
fast can we actually go here? You know, like,
I used to drive an old car that would shake. Well, it's in miles per hour, but it would like shake around 65 miles per hour. And most highways are, I don't know, probably like 70, 75. So when you're on the highway, you would kind of feel the car shaking. Everything was safe, it was fine. But I was driving my friend's car one time on a long road trip, and she had a newer car that did not shake. So next thing I know, I'm like 90 miles an hour. She's like,
exactly.
Morgan, this is a little too fast.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't
Yeah,
realize it was
yeah. It depends. No, it's true. The car you drive kind of determines the
yeah,
way it feels, at least how fast you go. Some cars you
exactly.
just don't feel that you're going so fast, so it's not your fault. You know.
No, not at all.
Yeah, they
Tell
should
that to
know
the
that.
officer. Yeah.
Exactly. No, yeah. No, I started done stuff when I knew that I would annoy people.
Mm.
I thinking about the school protest. I was at a school in Norway, and and in and I'm Dutch, so Norwegian schools, especially at the time, were a little bit more traditional
Mm, mhm.
than the schools I was used to, and I hated school. Why did I go to school in Norway? Good question. That's the next for the next podcast. So I went there, and we had a local newspaper that was sort of distributed in the town where the
Mhm.
school is, and I wrote an article in the newspaper, and so because it was sort of like it was from the school, but it was also for the neighborhood.
Sure. Yeah.
And long story short, I wrote an article that was published, and where I was really, as tearing the school apart, basically. How I
Oh
hate
no.
school and all that. So, and so, and we had like it was a very traditional school, so there was a school director, and I was a very proud man,
Mhm.
and so and now the whole little town, it was a tiny little town, but still, everybody was reading this. So I had
Oh
to.
no.
He asked me to join him at his home. And yeah, we went to his house and sat me down, and we had a long talk.
Heart to heart.
Yeah, and I knew that was going to happen, but I was yeah, but somehow because I meant it. Uh, in hindsight, I was like, so
You
uh,
were authentic. Yeah.
it was very authentic. Yeah, talking about authenticity. We had a wonderful guest. So let's go and start the introduction
Yeah,
to our podcasts.
for sure. Yeah, a wonderful guest who talks about authenticity. Ewelina Polińska Nadra. She's Polish, but lives in Germany. But she talked about authenticity
Yeah.
and yeah, and how she brings that to her team as a leader, and also how she weaves that into being a mother And also she talks about like how she's her full self at work and that your work life will impact your personal life and your personal life will impact your work life. And so I thought that was really beautiful, like how the conversation kind of flowed between those two things.
I think she's the only person ever that talked about, what you learn from being a parent, that you take that to your kind of your workplace where you as a leader you apply sort of the lessons that you've learned from being a mother in her case
Yeah.
to a son, learning literally from that and then apply. I don't know if I've ever heard someone say it
And
so directly. I mean, we all
yeah,
do
and
it, but you've heard.
my assumption is that a lot of parents encounter this, right? Your
Mhm.
kid will teach you things or show you things and you will incorporate that.
Yeah,
But
I
I've
try to
never heard
block it.
anybody,
I try to kind of block it. I go like, oh my God, no. Of
but it was very like clear and
course. Yeah.
explicit for her, which was also,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think that's it. Yeah. So
very
thank you.
refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
found myself thinking like, oh, I want to be on her team. Like I would
yeah.
love to have a leader like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because she would show, if you take your private life with you, if you do that as a leader, it means other people can do that too. And I
Yeah.
hear sort of the more traditional thinkers going like, that will be so chaotic and so messy. How can we won't get any work
LinkedIn is
done?
just for business posts.
Yeah, it's not, exactly right. So it's but I just know, that's so not true. And we
Mhm.
know that since COVID, by the way, since the
Yeah.
lockdown,
Yeah.
no, that is not true.
Yeah.
Actually, if people start working way more, that's the problem. That people work more when you kind of start to kind of work from home and and when private life and work life starts to kind of blend into one, it's actually more the problem is that you don't stop working with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's usually more of the sort of like, and the sort of the expectation of that you pick up the phone at night or in the evening or answer emails,
Hmm.
or you can text your colleagues anytime.
Yeah.
So that's a newish problem, I think,
Yeah.
but it has nothing to do with not working hard enough and not getting the work done. It's the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. And we talked a bit about like work culture shifting. And one of the things I was thinking of is that more people are looking for meaningful work. And meaningful means something different for every person, but we no longer have, okay, I'm going to go be working Morgan for 8 hours, and then it can go be home Morgan for the rest of the day. That they are becoming more linked. So,
Yeah.
it's not just instant accessibility with technology, but also starting to weave it more into your identity and knowing, okay, this work is meaningful for me.
Yeah. Which, still I keep kind of saying that to myself as well, that because I totally agree, but it's also a luxury if you are
Yes,
able to do so, right? So not
certainly.
everyone, yeah, because some people just have a job and they just need to pay their mortgages and
Yeah,
their get food because they need to feed their kids and stuff,
yeah.
and they don't have the choice of going like, I wish I had a job that kind of
Brings more
connects to
meaning.
my brings more meaning and connects to
Yeah,
my identity. And
yeah.
but if you have the option, that's what you want. And so in a way, if you're, and Ewelina, she's an innovation manager,
Hmm.
so she leads people in a team where you need to kind of also sometimes be you know be different, say things that might not not everybody agrees with, or
Mm.
speak your mind. And so that really you need to kind of create that. And I'm gonna use that word brave space from now on, since
It's
the last
perfect.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, since Rachel Davis, previous podcast, the brave space, right? I think that is what you need to create, and you create it by showing, by being an
Hmm.
example. I call it authentic, but it's basically be yourself and show others that you are yourself,
Yeah.
and so other people can be themselves too.
Yeah. And so, and also a lot about curiosity. Evelina is
Yeah.
deeply, deeply, deeply curious.
Yes. Very curious person.
Yes,
So
in the inquisitive sense. Yes.
exactly. All right. Okay.
Yes,
Enjoy.
enjoy.
I'm absolutely curious about everything that is coming. So I think this is something what is my blessing and my nightmare as well, the curiosity, because it's my biggest drive. That makes me who I am as a person as well. As I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and I'm a wife. So this is the kind of like three things that are defining as well me as a person. I am I am a major sportswoman, so I do love triathlon. So it's like really that is my sport that I really love. No longer being able to take a part like in the challenges. It's just simply like it's the time of my life that is actually I cannot anymore do triathlons as like the professional, but like a kind of long distance because of as well like the circumstances, the life that we have right now, and as well with my son in the school. But I did Ironman, so actually I'm done. I did my one Ironman.
Wow.
Yes. I did Ironman, so like that was one of my biggest dreams as well. So I've just made it, and afterwards I was like, okay, time to focus on something else. But it is also like this coming from the curiosity. So like what is defining me is a curiosity, and as well like really discovering everything in the world. So like by sport, traveling. I do love travel. I'm a foodie. I love food, and I think like this is the biggest pleasure in my life, literally. So like me and my brother actually as well, like we're traveling every year, once a year, and we are just basically our trips are all about food and just really like enjoying the different like the beauty of the food and the art of the food. I would say that one of my biggest hobbies is like learning and studying. Fun fact: today we talked with my son, and actually he asked me like, "So like, tell me like, what is the average like the amount of year that people need to study?" And I was like, "I don't know what is the average, right? Everybody's an individual. It's like, how many like years did you study?" So we started like to count it, and I was like, "Do you want as well primary school?" And he was like, "Yes." So unfortunately, we've counted that I studied 24 years. So it was like,
Wow.
yes. It was also like a surprise for me. So like primary school, high school, universities, postgraduate studies. So like that's something that I think I collect, just like a different different schools. What else? I would say
It's
I am a
already a
friend.
lot. It's already quite a lot.
About studying or about talking about myself.
Sorry, you're a friend, you said.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm a friend. I love my like this is something what is actually as well like one of the big part of my life. Just my friends as well. Like I really love people around me, and I really love like they give me an energy, and just I really need them. So I think like it's kind of we can start with this. But yes, answering to you, Anna, yes, I was surprised as well like how many years I spent on studying.
Yeah, studying at school, and I'm sure you didn't stop learning.
No, absolutely. Like I didn't stop learning, but it was really funny as well to like, count this because I've never did this in my life. As of course, like it was the first time somebody asked me how many years it took me. And I did not say I stopped it, right? So most probably that will be like as well, like continue.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
that's cool. What kind of, when you said you're a friend,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I don't hear very many people describe themselves like that. But I think most people would say friends are deeply important to, a good
Absolutely.
life. So
Um,
I love that you describe yourself like that. I'm curious, like what kind of friend are you? Because you have like the friend, like when you're in a really bad situation and they can help you, or you have the friend where you want to do something really like creative together. What kind of friend do you think you are? And what do you, yeah.
I would say like I'm a friend for everything. So I'm there where you need me when it's good. I'm there where you need me when it's really bad. And I'm a friend who's always like very honest. Not always is really nice, but I do expect the same, right? And I do believe if you are a friend and as well, like if you're a real friend, you have the courage as well sometimes to say something which is not nice, but as well, you know exactly when to say something which is really nice as well, like really to support. This is what I expect as well from my friends. So I would say that my friends are absolutely super important for me. They are a part of my life. I live in Munich, so I don't have any family here. So my friends are my family. So this is as well like the bond that you create, and you have all of them to be with you when it's good, bad, to laugh, to cry, and do all the crazy stuff, but as well do the stuff which are not nice or support you as well. I do have wonderful girlfriends. Like there's a group of 5 girls when we do everything together, from like fun stuff, like to really like support each other in terms of career. All of them are mothers. All of them are working mothers. So it's like we understand each other. How sometimes we are suffering, like running from work to pick up the son or daughter, right? And then of course, like between the meetings, like calling the doctor. So this is the kind of as well. Sometimes in the evening, we sit down and we chat. I was like how the day went and how sometimes not nice or sometimes how wonderful it went. So those are the kind of as well that I would describe myself as a very dedicated friend, very demanding. That's what but I do a lot, and as like I do and I give a lot as well. So this is something which is a kind of even as well for the friendship. I do believe that this only works both ways.
Yes. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah, you should start a television show on this. It sounds like it a little bit. I'm listening to you, and I think automatically, when you listen to a story like that, you start thinking about your own life and your own friends. And I go like, do I have friends like that? I don't think so, bastards. Yes. Wait a minute, is that also friendship? I didn't know that. So well done. I'm also curious about something else, and it is actually about curiosity. So I'm curious about curiosity because I think I am a curious person. It can mean many things, by the way. I'm a very curious person.
Both senses of the word, yeah.
Exactly. But I think I would say that when people ask me the question like, "Who are you?" and I think I would say that, but at the same time, aren't we all kind of? I mean, are there people? Oh, you. Okay.
We're both shaking our heads.
Aren't we all? There are people who are completely not. I mean, okay. Let me put it differently in another way. As children, I mean, most children are. I mean,
Yes.
I know. I mean, I have children, so through my children, I've known a lot of children. All of them were curious, both senses of the words. But they're both. They were always curious, asking questions. That's what kids do, right? I was a colleague of mine years ago. She was presenting on how many questions a kid asks sort of per day, and it's like hundreds. Like each day they would ask hundreds of questions, right? And you lose that.
Yes.
In time when you get educated. Basically, when you go through school, you lose the ability. And we blame school, but I don't know what happens if you don't go to school. Maybe I don't know if they did that kind of research. So, it had a group of kids they did not send to school, and had a group of kids they did send to school.
I was homeschooled for a few years, and I can confirm that the homeschoolers I met were curious in both senses of the word.
Okay. So
But,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're not, meaning you're a school, but not in an institution.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So you're getting homeschooled, which is not a concept in the Netherlands, by the way. So
Interesting.
It's like really weird hippie behavior. So what's happening? No, but it's the kind of right. So okay. So you can confirm my thought that
my very limited field research. Yeah.
Yes.
Of 4 years in Ohio. Yeah.
It's evidence. It's proof. We've proven the thesis. But you have done way too much education, I think. Half your life, all of your life basically go through study. That's like, that's so much time, and you're still curious. So how did you do that?
I just wanted to say as well, like on the school, I agree with you that school sometimes is blocking the curiosity, right? Because of course there is the kind of like the behavior that is expected by teachers, by school, by education, by program. However, I was lucky enough that my dad was absolutely from the very beginning giving me opportunity to be curious. He had a different motivation, but actually he triggered my natural as well talent, I would say. Like, it was a kind of like the skill that I have, a feature that I have inside me. His motivation was to show me everything that I do not destroy things at home. So that was his motivation. So I will teach you everything that you do not destroy, for example, TV, etc. And he spent lots of time as well showing me how to program TV, like all those kind of elements, how to use Axe. I was the kid of having 4 years old and I was using Axe. It's not a common thing, yes, but I was like just simply like I had a pocket knife at the age of 5.
An axe for like cutting down trees.
Exactly.
Sorry, I was like, is that software? Something is that IT talk? I use Axe. I programmed in Axe. Oh, you have
we programmed the TV because it was, of course, it was like kind of as well like the video recorder or whatever it was called. I grew up in the 80s and the 90s in Poland. So of course, like we had a bit different as well, like environments. We didn't have so much technology, and it was really perfect environment for me to work with my curiosity. So thanks to my dad, it just was simply like unlocked. I asked thousands of questions. And of course, like many times I've heard from my mom, would you mind to not ask why the fridge is called fridge, right? It was like, but I want to understand why it is working like that, why somebody used this name. And this is what actually helped me as well to not block, because I do believe, I actually agree that we all are curious, right? Sometimes we just simply are completely blocked because of this kind of stop asking question. It's one question too much. Would you mind to be quiet for a second? Please don't touch it. And this is actually what is not really blocking in kids. I see this as well at home because I'm my son. I am a mom, as I said, and this is what I believe is giving me a lot of excitement and joy in life, the curiosity. And this is what I'm trying as well to show him, to never ever block this. Actually, sometimes, of course, he can at school. Sometimes there is required a kind of behavior, but at home we can be still curious. We can go and explore the world, and we can talk a lot. I'm not saying it's always easy, right? If you constantly need to ask all this question, answer all this question, and he's asking and asking, it is annoying. And I understand what my parents felt like back then. But I'm trying as well to see this from my lenses, because I'm curious of everything. Literally, if I see something, it's like, oh, come on, let's go. Let's see how it will look. Let's go there and let's see. Sometimes it's painful for my family, for my friends, but I was like, oh, come on, let's see, let's eat, let's try, let's do this. That's how I actually started with triathlon, because we were like, if I may tell this story, so we were like sitting at home in like Christmas evening, and I was like, oh, life is boring, right? Let's do something. And my husband was like, what would you like to do? Like, look, there is triathlon. Let's try triathlon. And I was like,
That's a
just like
big
that.
leap. Sorry, that's a big leap. That's a big going, sitting on sitting on the couch watching
Christmas
Netflix.
evening. I'm
Christmas
bored.
evening, I'm bored. Let's do a triathlon.
Exactly. But like sometimes it's like you need a
Let's
spark,
take a
right?
walk. Let's go take a let's get a dog and go to the beach or something, or go to the forest. I mean, take a walk.
That would be easier, definitely. But like I sometimes it's like not the case for us. And but I was like, my husband was really funny. He was like, but you don't know like how to swim, like you can't swim. And I was like, come on, like I can learn, right? So it's like, it's not a problem. And he was like, okay, let's do this. And that's how we actually started, from one day to another. I do believe that the curiosity sometimes helped me as well to make decisions as well, in terms of like, like moving to another country, moving to another city. It's just really a really good drive as well to try things, right? And the world has like so much to offer, and curiosity really helps a lot. And especially with people as well, like only like if you're curious enough, like to listen, to meet other people, to learn about them, it's a massive as well advantage as well to see the beauty in this world.
So can I ask you something, which
Of course.
probably it makes no thank you. It's an interview, Arna. Yes, you're supposed to ask
Please
questions.
ask something.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry. So, my question. No, because no, I'm saying that because I am not a psychologist, obviously, but hearing, and I've known more people who grew up in not just in Poland, but also in Poland when it was still a communist country, which has sort of an effect on you, obviously. I mean, sure. So that's interesting. Whether you also have, you're conscious about that, but is it maybe that's silly, but that's sort of what I was thinking, that if you are in an environment and from the outside, for maybe living in the 80s, 90s, that seemed like this very separate, blocked off kind of part of the world with less interaction between, in this case, Poland and the rest of society, the world, whatever, what have you. That might not have been the way you experienced it, by the way. But maybe when that could sort of visually for me is like when then all of a sudden the borders opened, and you were like, here's the world. You can go anywhere now. Is that maybe also something that triggered that curiosity? I mean, although you already had it as a child, but maybe that kind of turn that into kind of a something even bigger. It was this hunger for knowing more, because all of a sudden there's all this stuff for you.
Yep.
Is that a thought,
to be honest, I've never thought about it, but I do believe it had an effect, right? So like I grew up I was born in the 80s, so I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, where it was like in Poland, where still situation actually in a small city. So I would not compare it to a big city because like my husband grew up in a big city, and sometimes we compare our stories and like, guys, we lived in the two different worlds, right? So like the small cities in Poland were a bit different. However, it gave a lot of as well room for creativity. If you wanted to eat something sweet, you needed to make it somehow. So, right? My mom actually as well showed me like how to make the sweets out of nothing sometimes, right? We had a few ingredients and actually we were always experimenting. And then of course my dad showed me as well like how to turn sugar and butter into something beautiful, something super tasty. So that was as well like a really huge spark as well for this hunger. Yes, I would say I'm very hungry as well for like all those kind of novelties. And when I had an opportunity to leave my city, I did this without even like hesitation. And I always like said to my mom, it's like, I love my city. This is my home, but I just can't live here. I need more. Back then, when I was like, I think 10 or 12, I didn't know anything else in Warsaw, right? So Warsaw was like end game for myself. But I did my round. So I studied, I was born in one city. I studied in a different, then I lived in Warsaw. Like, so it was like kind of like already like within the Poland, small changes. And then when the opportunity came to move to Munich, it took me 2 days. And I was like, why not? Let's change the country. Let's do this. Like, let's move it. Everything. Like we will pack and we will go, leaving behind the whole world that actually we've created. It sounds really easy. It wasn't, but the fact that I think I'm not afraid of those kind of tech changes. I'm hungry as well, like to explore, helps me as well in life, because it's like, okay, like there is a huge world which is so beautiful and like will give me so much opportunity as well to learn, to see different things. That yes, I'm sure that the fact how I grew up was the spark. So as well, like my brain is as well like more open for the things and exploring as well. So I see as well like the current like comparison myself with my son. Like he has everything. Like the kids nowadays have access to everything, like basically everything. And all those kind of funny discussion that we had is like, so if you did not have YouTube or Netflix, how did you watch cartoons? And I was like, yeah, I had a cartoon once a day and it was at 7:00. If you didn't like it, I was like, well, I did not have a choice, right? I was like lucky enough to have it, and it was black and white. So it wasn't like the color, like full of colors and everything. It was like, that's a kind of sad life. And I was like, no, it was beautiful, right? It was really beautiful because you needed to use as well your imagination as well, a bit more. So yes, I do believe it created me as well as a person. It is a part of my story. And I believe it's a blessing that I have as well.
Yeah, I can
And
imagine that.
And I'm thinking, because I'm thinking of myself. It sounds very self-centered, but I am. but there's something, because it's very clear and very evident that you're curious, like without a doubt. But there's also like another element to it, because I don't think I would move to Munich in 2 days. But I still consider myself a curious person. So is it just that you're further along the spectrum in curiosity, or is there another element to that you think as well?
I'm sure it's a mix, right? As a curiosity is the one element that is actually helping me. On the previous
like
interview,
the triathlon thing. You know, I might think of it, be like, oh, what's it like to finish an Ironman? But I don't do it randomly on a Christmas.
It will take a bit longer, yeah. You're like, well, first I buy the shoes. And
I do start with that as well. Like that, I'm a woman, right? Like I'm started as well, like with the equipment, right? So I bought myself a shoes, I bought myself a watch, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, but we talked about it as well, like with the previous interview as well with Arne. Like I think that the second element that is actually as well describing me is like I do not overthink my decisions as well. Like so, like sometimes I'm faster actually than I should be, but the decision that I've made as well, like a few times in my life, were just really like from one day to another, I just listened to my intuition, right? And it's like, all right, the universe gave me this like on the way, so it's a time to go. So just say yes, and then you will see what will happen. And I don't know if it's a courage or just kind of like, what's that? But it is something as well that I did a few times in my life, like moving to Munich, then changing job, like from one day to like another, like to really change from Munich to another city, and like being as well like forced to travel quite a lot. But on the way, it gave me so much that I just simply, I'm doing this constantly.
Is curiosity and creativity, is that the same thing?
Not necessarily for me, of course. I do believe they're very connected. So like curiosity helps as well, or like really helps with creativity, but not necessarily is the same. So
someone can be really curious and wants to know everything, and and then not be creative.
and here we're coming to the point that I do believe we're all curious and we're all creative, right? It's kind of like
It's just something I was thinking about. No, I was just thinking like, because how can you can't be creative if you're not curious? Maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe someone says, yes, you can. I'm not. So I know a lot of people are not curious, but very creative. I don't think that's possible. Well, because sorry, Morgan.
Well, I was going to ask if a personality trait has to be exhibited outwardly. Like if you're a very curious person, but you never ask any questions, or you never Google anything, or you never look for answers in books or shows or podcasts,
He's
are you
talking to
still?
yourself. What do you think, Arne? Well, no, I don't know. I can't Google. I just can't be bothered to look it up. But it's really interesting. Let's talk about this for an hour with myself. I mean,
Then would you still be considered a curious person or a creative person, right? Because I think of creating things when you're creative, and that can mean
right. Okay.
500 different things.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking that there's so Ewelina, you were saying, that there's a connection. There must be a connection, because curiosity to me means that you're exploring, and you're, and you want to see how things work, and you're going to take things apart, and not being able to put it back together again. But I mean, that's usually my curiosity. Taking things apart and go like, oh, oops, sorry, mom and dad. I destroyed the radio, which I did, and didn't know how to get it. But it was really interesting. The insides of the radio is a wonderful world. But
did you ever try the TV? I tried with the TV. My dad was not super happy.
Well, the old but maybe this is like, maybe it's almost like a metaphor for what we're talking about. If you look at sort of when we grew up, and Morgan, you're a lot younger. You don't know this. No, I'm older than both of you. I think I'm adding, but because when I was young, even then, I think the radios and the televisions weren't that interesting inside, but we had the big televisions, right? So, but the older ones, so like my grandparents, their radios, for instance, the inside of those were like these alien planets. Really, they had all these little tubes and things and amazing things inside, and also the televisions. There was this amazing world of all these weird shapes and things. Nowadays, it's like it's a chip and some plastic and a wire or something. I don't know. It's so boring. So you don't know how it works, but sort of, back then when you would open up stuff, you would go like, huh, what is this thing? Oh, that connects to that thing. And then what does that do? I couldn't figure, I was not smart enough, but you can imagine figuring it out. But nowadays, everything is so hidden, sort of, in a way, or so tiny, micro. You have no clue. Also with cars, I mean, I don't know a lot about cars, but when I had when I had my first car, I could open up, basically look at the engine, could open up the hood, and I looked at the engine and go like, oh, I get it. This thing is kind of, not connected to the other thing anymore. Now I have no clue. So we're getting really disconnected from how things work. And what you were talking about, growing up in Poland, and when you had to really figure things out, and not only because you were in Poland, but it's also the time where you had to kind of fix things and make things, and you were able to do so, or at least, you could figure it out. And nowadays, no clue. So, kids you have everything, but you don't know how it works. Right.
And there's like, it is a part of like what I believe is a kind of sad part, right? It's like the word is so simplified, in my opinion, right? It's a very complicated in terms of technology, but as well very simplified. You have access to everything, and we have as well like this discussion with our son is like, you don't have to Google everything. Sometimes they just really like how do you imagine that? So like, don't try to always like find a solution just immediately in the Google or somewhere else. Just really like use your brain as use your creativity, your curiosity as well, like to find the answer. And maybe this is, of course, because it's like so deeply in me, that's as well I'm trying as well to bring it to his life, this curiosity and this kind of exploration as well, this hunger for exploration. But I find it is very difficult as well for the current time. As you said as well, like everything is so little, everything is so simple. There is no point to take a screw, and I really like took a look on what is inside a TV. What for, right? It's just tiny little like bar. There's no anything inside. I
Yeah,
was doing the
exactly. There's nothing
most
inside.
probably I had the same. I had no clue what I'm doing, but of course I was like so curious actually what is inside. That was just like remotes, like all the remotes I destroyed because I was so curious if there is any difference between the remotes, right? And there's of course like but it was the kind of like normal thing. And I see my son as well, like sometimes he's doing this the same. But then I think it's a as well for the parent as well is a difficult role to say, okay, like, are you going to be punished by that, or you're gonna be as well, like rewarded because you were curious enough to destroy things. And it's like, yeah, that's a kind of like as well difficulty that we need to face. But I can like we were like talking like just recently with my dad. Like I don't think he's super happy with all the things that I done in the past. But of course, he's super happy with like where I am right now with my brain and everything. Is kind of this like curiosity and is kind of exploring stuff the whole time.
Yeah, and going through school. So was that curiosity with you all the time? Because I mean, going through school also sometimes means, and I mean, depending on what you study, obviously, and on what level, but it can also mean that you just have to kind of produce answers. And so to me, I always find it very difficult to go through school because I felt that it was limiting me basically.
In my case, I would say I was very good, and I'm still very good for the education, all the programs that are there. I'm very disciplined, so I really like the order as well. That was cool. So it was like at a school, it was just really like doing stuff, like really like creating or the kind of as well my notebooks. So really like perfect environment for studying.
Mm-hmm.
But the curiosity was always like outside. But and it's not even bad, but I created as well my internal world, which was like absolutely creative, curious of stuff. I found out things that I really liked like a lot. So the history was the thing that I really loved. So I was reading books about different stuff. If I found something interesting, I was trying to learn more, and then really like as well use this spark. So but I wouldn't say school is necessarily, or like the typical schools are not necessarily things to help you to increase or like to improve your creativity or improve your curiosity. No, you just need to do stuff as said, and the best way, like really to repeat the same words. So that's a kind of element it is. But you can go instead, right? So you can still explore your world and explore the things. And of course, the older I am, I was able more to choose the schools that were more fitting to my needs. And that actually helped me as well a lot to learn way more.
And did you also have this? So, I mean, what was the first job? What was your first
Oh, good
serious
question.
job? You're like,
A
after
serious
you.
job, okay.
What's the difference
Well,
between a serious job and a non-serious
good
job?
question. I don't know. I asked it. They're like, I'm not sure. I think all jobs are
Everything is
serious.
paid, right?
Yeah. I think what I meant to say is the job that, and I think you should forget the question. I should re-ask it. What I actually meant to say with serious job is you have a job where you go like, okay, this is something I would like to be, or as part of building. And you have jobs like I've done so many odd jobs that I was like, I'm not going to do this the rest of my life. It's just for making money to go on vacation or something like as a teenager or whatever. But having said that, I must also say that all the odd jobs I ever had, working in factories and I've done so many weird jobs. I think I learned the most there. So actually, in hindsight, I learned so much about work and business and companies and organizations and how they work when you work at a factory floor, for instance, what that's like. And actually, so forget the question. The question is, what was your first job? Ewelina,
um,
what was your first job?
So my first university, I was studying cosmetology because I was really curious, like how the skin is built. And I just said, it's going to be fun, right? I can work like that. My both parents are hairdressers. So I had a kind of dream like, let's do something together. So I studied for 3 years. I did a bachelor degree on that. And on the second year already, I started to work in a beauty salon. And I was just really like working, and it took me 5 years to realize that it's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then after bachelor degree, I've decided to change completely. And I started University of Economics in Poznan, in Poland, and I started to study marketing while working still in a beauty salon. And that was my first serious job. I'm forgetting about the job, like the summer jobs, but that was the first one. So completely different than I'm doing right now. But it was something that, as you said, I've learned so much, and not about like how to take care of the skin or nails or something like that. I've learned a lot about the people as well. So this job is actually, it's another like, like almost like a psychotherapist, right? So you've listened a lot, you need to remember a lot, and you've got every day like 10, 20 different people actually that are talking to you as well. So it was amazing as well to learn and as well discover how much I like to work with people as well. So that was as well like something important for me, like how curious about people I am, about their stories, what they going through as well. So this was as well like the very first, for me, spark to see this actually. So the curiosity as well about people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's it's funny because those kind of jobs, when you really are directly serving people, really those frontline sort of, jobs are actually really, really interesting. But I think when you start out that way, not for everyone, obviously, but for at least for me, it was like, I don't want to do that work anymore. But later in life, at least for me, you go like, actually, that was really cool. I did so many little jobs. Actually, also it's like summer jobs where I now go like, I've been a courier, for instance, for DHL. And looking back, that was so much fun. I met so many people. I had so many weird meetings and conversations and went in so many weird houses and strange factories and, and it was such looking back, those kind of jobs, I actually, sometimes I go like, I could do that for like, 1 or 2 days a week. That'd be nice, because you're kind of in a very different relationship to the people because you're serving them and you're helping them. It's not as, it's not therapy, like, taking care of people's skin and, really, being also, like for instance, I get my hair cut every now and then. And then, the conversations I have with them, you go like, wow, they have those. Do they have those conversations every time with people? That's amazing. They must have so many cool stories. That'd be such a cool job to do, like, every now and then. Like I can't do it because I can't cut hair, clearly. But yeah, don't you think so? That sort of that's such a great education, really.
I do, like actually from what I see, like of course it's a bit reflecting on the past. As you said, like working in the front line is the really beautiful, but as well the hardest part, right? Because of course you're dealing with the difference of situations, different of behaviors, different days, and of course, like sometimes it's super nice and sometimes it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
But as well, what you learn is you're absolutely increasing your memory because you need to remember every story. And this is actually what is really funny. What I've learned as well, like back then, people expect you to remember everything. The name of the children, the name of the cat, everything. You just need to remember. And it's actually a really cool training as well for yourself as well to see, okay, like how many things you can remember.
That is
Some
true.
of the stories
I'm slightly disappointed when the person who cuts my hair doesn't ask me the same question. I'm slightly like, you cut my hair, like, because it's usually a long time ago. Yeah, you're true. Yeah, it's right. Yeah.
It is right, but as well, like I think like it's a kind of as well unlocking as well this kind of like as well element of the human being as well taking care of other person, right? So like right now I'm working in a completely different environment, but as well I still work with people, and that stays with me. This kind of curiosity of others as well, like remembering those stories. Maybe as well it's my natural as well element that I too like those kind of stories, and I take care and I invest sometimes to learn about people. I don't know if it would be the same if I wouldn't have my first job. Most probably, I have no clue. I had this privilege to did that, and I also had the privilege to change completely my career. So that was like for everybody was so obvious that I will do this till the end of my life, and I was like, no, let's like pause this, let's change completely the direction, and then going in a completely different path.
And and you said that after 5 years you realized it wasn't the path for you, so you went back to school for marketing. What made you choose marketing?
Very honestly, the same. I was like the same as like with triathlon. I said I was like really wondering what I could do and what I could try. And I was just like really like talking about the different schools, universities with my friends. And I was like, why not like trying marketing, right? So like maybe I will find something. I will do the bachelor degree and I will see. So I started university to do the bachelor degree and I fell in love. I fell in love in marketing. I fell in love in everything that actually is around marketing and how broad actually marketing is, because marketing is just like one thing. And actually I found something for me that is actually giving me opportunity to not do the stuff always the same, rather than really always to learn about something different. And that was something that I just simply like said, yeah, this is my thing. So I studied first bachelor degree, then I did a master degree. So that was actually like already like my path. And I stayed almost on this path because now I'm working more in the product and innovations, but actually it continued, was always like this since already more than 15 years.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
So when you were, so that sort of your first job, you said, you're like, no, that's maybe not for me. When you started working for, because I think you worked for, and I can't pronounce the name of the company because it's a very Polish name, and it has all kinds of letters. I just don't know
But
how to
it's a
pronounce them.
part of Down on Waters, so it's easier to say Down on Waters.
Okay. How do you pronounce it? Because it says Zurich, I can't pronounce. There's no
Yeah,
way.
it's a Żywiec Zdrój.
Zivich.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. How do but it doesn't make sense if you read it, that what you just said, it doesn't say it. So that's amazing. No, but it's, so when you started working, was that sort of your kind of, was that the moment because that's when you started really working in marketing, right?
Yes.
That's the moment when you started kind of applying marketing. So you come from a world of, feeling very curious. You like learning, you do all that, fall in love with marketing. What is it like to get into that kind of environment? Because it's different than working, in a skincare, right? So it's probably a
Completely.
very big company, probably. How was that?
Probably, yes.
Yeah,
That was a completely different environment, completely like a huge change. I did not only change the company and as well direction, I also changed the city because I moved from Poznan then to Warsaw
right.
to start this job.
Big city.
Big city as well. So like basically it was everything from the very beginning. I wouldn't say it was easy from the very beginning. No, I needed as well like to unlock all those kind of as well like things that I've already learned in the university and as well start to use it in a more practice way. But I was absolutely lucky as well that back then Żywiec Zdrój, which is a part of Danone Waters, was the local brand. And basically all that I've learned about marketing was the kind of my basics like that were actually was there. So I was able to do lots of stuff as well, to learn from the very beginning. So to create the products as well from the idea till the end, and as well like really work with others as well to observe them, how do they work, observe the different behaviors, to see how the big corporate world actually is working. So back then it wasn't that big corporate, of course, it was still the local company, but it was already in comparison what I had before, it was a massive change. It was a really huge spark as well for myself and to show me what I like actually and then what gives me an energy. And it was also like for the first time working with the product itself. So because the product not the development, the kind of like leading as well, the new product ideas to the market was as well in hands of marketing. So that was as well a really huge spark for me as a foodie as well. Yes, I've like to learn as well like how to develop new product as well, leading the teams as well to develop the products from the idea till the end. Of course, having the support from the team and as well from having from support from the leads that actually I was privileged as well to work with and learn from them to see as well like, okay, that's my thing to do in life. And that was the first time when I worked actually with in the food industry. Yes, it was a bit different as a water category, but I've also learned how much I love to work with food. I've never worked with any other category. So this is something with as well. Never. I always like work with food, different types of food, but it gives me as well energy. I do believe like that you need to find your way and do what you love. And I was like working with, I don't know, like other categories, like you cannot eat. Yeah, it's not fun, right? So like you need to like do what you love. And it was like, where like you need to try the products and it's like to do stuff like you eat them, right? So it's so much fun. Not always pleasant. Not everything what you eat is actually nice on the way to develop, but it gives so much energy in as well. Like, and it gives as well like more fun in the more like difficult situation as well, because the work is not always only about fun. Sometimes there are like situations which are complicated, and then of course you need to know why you're doing this. Does it give you energy like most of the time? And there are like periods which are more complicated, and then to see a bit more than this kind of the moment of difficulty or the kind of the small obstacles.
Have you also sort of, because, and then we talked earlier in another recording, when we talked about sort of change and going through change processes, and because if you work at a larger organization, you get confronted with change, right? There's always something that needs to be done differently. There's always something that needs to kind of, change. And is there sort of a way that how did you learn to do that? And because you learn from others, obviously, but how did you kind of experience that, and how did you learn to kind of cope with change, or develop your own kind of philosophy around change? What was the first sort of spark when you recognized? Because often, because in the early stages of your career, for most people, at least when you're a lot younger as well, you don't really think about it specifically. Like, you want to do things differently, you do things differently, right? And then all of a sudden you work with all these people and these departments and these kind of all these goals and KPIs and what have you. And it becomes really complicated to change things. And so people get really frustrated because it's difficult and doesn't work, et cetera, et cetera. But how did you experience that going from, also, although because you like change, clearly, because you were like, oh, let's go, let's do something different. Okay. So we can move from a smaller town to a big city, complicated, bigger company. Did you struggle with this? Was it something that you were surprised at, or was it something that was natural to you? You go like, yeah, I know how to do this.
I wouldn't say at the very beginning it was natural. Absolutely not. And I think this the big corporate words or any kind of company is as well teaching you how to deal with the change, because the change is like the natural thing, and it can be like change on a very small level, like on your work. So like if you do something, sometimes you need to have as well, like let's call it approval from someone else. And those are the first moment where you need to deal with the change, because somebody else that might not like the outcome that you did, right? And this is the first moment where it's like, but I worked so hard, why you don't like it, right? Like, come on. And then of course it's the first moment of frustration that somebody did not accept what you did. And this was as well like many times, of course, on the process of the learning as well. I think it's a way more, of course, those changes, because of course you need to as well like learn how to do stuff, and those kind of changes are more every now and then annoying, because of course you try so hard, and of course like sometimes we take those changes personally, like, or the kind of like, well, like interruption into work. So I tried so hard and then somebody did not appreciate it and told me to change it. It took me sometimes as well as to understand that not all of them are malicious, like I would say, that they're like as well helping me as well to improve what I'm doing. What I actually believe over the time is like way easier as well for me to deal with the changes where the changes are coming from me. Like they are about my life, it's they are way faster. I accept them way easier. And with like someone like else interrupting your job is sometimes is way more complicated. So this is as well like what I needed as well to deal with. Right now as well, like you will always have a change, right? There is always one like will be a person that will ask you to change something, to do this, etc. So it's as well like most of the cases as well to accept the fact that not always needs to be like you want like 100%. Sometimes you need to like see or like as well listen to others, and then the effect might be completely different. But the hesitation at the very beginning sometimes is very painful, I would say, and is a kind of as well to see like, hey, like why I would love to finish this task, right? I'm done. It's like another change. Is that's really like adding that's kind of like to this picture. Most of the cases when I like as well like I saw the final effect, I was absolutely happy that somebody stepped into it like on the way and helped me. But I do believe as a human beings we only see this afterwards, right? In the process we don't see this as like, oh, I'm so happy somebody's interrupting my job. It's like really helping me.
critiqued
Exactly.
my idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
they
this
don't
is as
like
well.
me. Yay. They don't like my thinking. Yay.
And so
Yes.
are you also then like a person who, because some people really want to avoid change. And if you're a designer or coming up with ideas, it's part of the process. You know that it's going to be changed along the way. But a lot of people aren't designing things, aren't creating things, and they can do the same job day after day after day, and it looks more or less similar.
Hmm.
And so I think a lot of people insist, and not a lot, but there's a fair amount of people who avoid change. It's uncomfortable, it takes resources and energy. Do you find yourself running towards change, or do you also appreciate when there's just like a period in your life where like, okay, nothing much is changing, but I'm really loving it?
I would love to say I'm the person who really like the period where there's no change. I try to like be like convince myself that I like those kind of periods, but I'm not. I'm really always like chasing those kind of changes, and it's like I think
I think that was a
um,
rhetorical question, to be quite
A
honest.
little bit, yeah.
Okay. I think I can answer the question
but
for
I
you.
have to say I do. I really like the belief that I would love this period of no changes. Like it's a kind of every now and then I'm telling like to my husband, it's like, yeah, like it'd be so nice to not change. And it's like, for how long? And I was like, what do you mean? Right? It's like, how long would you survive without any change? Right? Like if you don't change anything, you change like something in the apartment just to in order to change something.
Yeah.
And I think this is something what I've as well like noticed in myself. I like changes, so it's easier for me as well to accept them, and it's like as well like to face them. So this is something as well what gives me as well energy. Sometimes they are painful, right? And of course,
Yeah.
like not every change that I did in my life was really a fairy tale, but at the end the outcome was really amazing. So this is there as well like something that somebody asked me if I ever regret as well like to move to Munich. The beginning was really difficult. Yeah, so like no language. So we came here without German language. We came here with 8 months, 8 months year old son. So like he was only 8 months.
Oh,
So it's really difficult to like leave everything behind. Nobody's here. And I like beginning was really horrible, right? To really rebuild your life, but I've never regretted it. So it was the best decision we've ever made. And I'm really happy we did that. And it opened so many doors. But yeah, going through this very first period, luckily I forgot some kind of how it was. So I have this ability sometimes to like really like, forget how it was like bad at the very beginning and just really see the beauty that actually
So,
came out of it.
but now you're a leader, right? You're leading a team of people,
Yes.
right? And you said something earlier about, I'm not sure exactly the words you used, but something around, I have to re-listen to the podcast, but so something about being faster than you should be.
Oh, I didn't say that. No.
Yeah, you said something like
but
that.
you said something like, oh, no, you don't want to go into it. Sorry.
I'm joking. No, no, no.
No, I
Is
missed
that
the social
that the
cue.
thing you didn't want to? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Like, you said it. You said it. I'm not going to cut it out. I might. No, but because I'm saying this because it's something because we can. I mean, obviously, you have lots of energy. You
Yes.
like change. You like to explore. Like to take things apart. You go like no, and to Morgan's, what she was just saying, not everybody's like that. So if you are leading people and your leader, if you were my leader, I can imagine going like, can we just kind of, where is she now? What's she doing? Right. So I can imagine that is sort of a thing that you have experienced, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did. I did experience. I think the last time when we were talking, I really brought as well an example of my son. So my son is a really one of the best teacher of mine. So he's completely different than I am. So he likes to do stuff different way, a bit slower as well, to have
How
time
old
to
is he?
reflect. He's 9. He's
Okay.
only 9, but it's like he likes to have time to reflect, to think. And then I was like, I'm already like running, right? And sometimes we had talked a lot, and so he told me many times as well like things that are like really like made me think. And he was like, I'm not like you, I'm not you, and I'm not like you, so like I do things in my own way. And for me it's a kind of as well like, yes, I am who I am, people are different, and it's as well like the way to accept the fact I am who I am, and I don't have to pretend that I'm slower than I am, and I'm like my brain is everywhere, but give the space as well to others to do the stuff in their own way, and as well to learn that okay, I would do something differently, maybe in a different pace, maybe in a different style, but it doesn't mean if it's better or worse. No, it's my style, and as well like to accept others that they have their own. What I do believe as well is this, what helps me as well a lot as well with working with others, to learn about them and to really invest a bit time to see, okay, this is who you are. This is the beauty. Each of us is unique and in a different way. And I do believe in that, right? That we have our own experience, we have our own skills, we have our own talents. And it's just a matter as well for the leading person is the matter of as well to learn about those talents and to use the talents actually to do the same but in a different way. I will do in this way, and I will do this like, I don't know, 2 days, you need 3, but the outcome will be absolutely amazing. And it's just kind of as well a learning process for me to accept those things. Luckily, or like for me, like I have this every day at home. So like with my son as well, leading this little person as well, I treat this as a kind of as well, like being a mother is a kind of as well, like leading as well, to learn about what he can, what he cannot do. And rather than in order to push him, to really motivate him to do stuff, because we already went through, and this is actually a painful experience, like for the situation where like I pushed too hard, and he's like, luckily for me, he said, it's too much for me, mom. And I was like, okay, then I step back, right? And I know, okay, that this is as well, like, and I appreciate those kind of moments because it's a reflection for me. Okay, I was like, I pushed too much. I was too much. So as well as this a kind of painful reflection for myself to see, okay, how to adapt my behavior. Doesn't mean that I need to be someone else. No, it's just like how to adapt myself to the situation, to the person, and help rather than demotivate in the daily task or in any situation.
He sounds very self-aware as well. It's a very
yes. I actually invested as well as lots of time as well on that we have this as well as kind of like talking about the emotions, about the skills, abilities as well, talents, and as well discovering the talents. Because sometimes I can see something different than he feels. So as well, like we're trying to talk, and I have to say that I use this quite a lot as well at work. Those kind of what I've learned at home, I use at work as well, because this is really, it's really like as well unique that you can observe this little person who sees the world completely different, right? And through the different lenses, and has completely different access, because he has no fear to tell me everything. If he doesn't like something, he will tell me like immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now at work, it doesn't have to work like that. Like, you don't have to like necessarily like have this possibility to say always like, I don't like it, right? Because you're pushing too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Here, like I have this, and I'm trying as well to bring it as well to work, right? If it's something too much, just tell me. I will not be offended. Like I know myself, sometimes it might be like that, but I will tell you if there's something I didn't like the way of behavior, I will tell you, please have the same courage to tell me this. Otherwise, I will never know.
Right. Which is that's interesting because a lot of people find it really difficult to tell someone, or feedback in general. People find have a hard time with receiving and giving feedback, depending on the culture where you are. Obviously, that can be more or less, but yeah. So as a leader, and I was asking the question also because I know a lot of leaders or managers or people managers who are sometimes really fast thinkers, and they have lots of ideas, and they really have to kind of keep in mind that the people they're leading, there might not all of them be that fast, or they don't know what or she is thinking, right? So before they know it, they're kind of always 6 steps ahead, and everybody's like, what's happening? Why, where do we feel disconnected? So, but it's interesting that you kind of create that link between being a mother, and being a leader, because I think both situations need a safe space, right?
Yeah.
Because to your point, if your son can tell you that he doesn't like something, it means he feels safe to say so, right? So same for your colleagues. I mean, they need to feel safe to do so. So is there kind of, so for people in your situation that they're leading a team of people, what is your kind of what's your approach or the way you kind of create that space for people to actually be that kind of courageous? And we just had this interesting podcast, and our previous guest, she talked, so Rachel, she talked about the brave space, right? It's not a safe space, it's a brave space, so you can try something new and you can actually stand up and say, I don't like this, because so it creates this kind of atmosphere. So is there something, an approach? What would you advise people? What would they do?
I've actually listened as well, like the podcast with Rachel, and I really like the wording of the brave space. I was using only the safe space because of what it was like as well, like what I've learned. I think it's a process, of course. There is no one way to create that. I have an approach and I have my personal motivation to be a leader, the one that I would love for myself as well. Like and this is actually what is always like that. Like if I would want someone to treat me like that, no. What I try as well, and I think this is what I believe is the most important, is just really be myself and be authentic. If putting yourself in a position that you're constantly with some mask on your face or like constantly like adding something, you're losing this authenticity. And then of course, like sooner or later it's going to go out, right? So you might pretend that you're kind, you might pretend that you're taking care of people. If you're not, it's going to come out like one day or another in a situation that will simply verify your behavior. So I do try, of course, like I'm a human being. I have my good days and I have my bad days. But when I have my bad days, but I would say like it's a really bad day, right? I just need a chocolate. I need like some space and like, just really leave me alone or like something. But it gives as well the opportunity as well for my team as well to see it's okay to have a bad day. It's just simply okay. You don't have to pretend that you're always happy. No, we can't, right? It's just impossible as well. And I do try, of course, it's like, as I said, is a process. I do try always to be there for them, always. If it's bad, is it good? I'm there, right? It's like, if you want to talk, I'm here. And we talked about it like the previously as well. I think this was interesting. I implemented as well. Sometimes you just want to talk. You don't want an advice, right? Sometimes you just, especially I think for the woman, is like something like we just want to talk with ourselves, but other person to listen. And we've just implemented it as a kind of like, just tell me what you want. Talk or advice? Talk. Please do. And then I'm like sitting and listening. And this is really like as well, like that's something which is like unique as well, that you might have this space where you just really go and talk and complain and everything. And then you close the door, it's fine. Done. So it's just like a matter of like as well trying different things. Same with kids, right? You just need to try and see what works the best. So I try the things that I would appreciate as well, and I appreciate, and give the same to my team as well, to give this space. Yes, I'm curious about themselves, so I really take care about every story. So I know I try to know as much as I can, and as well like trying to say I was trying, and I'm really, for me it's important. You can't disconnect your work life from your private life.
Yeah.
You just simply come as the same human. So there is no one Ewelina who has life from 8 to 5 at work and a different life here. No, they are simply like they are connected. So yes, it's one life will impact the other one. So this is as well what is important for me. If you have the private situation which is complicated, just be open. Like I have a bad day because of, I don't know, like something happened. You don't have to tell me what, but at least I know as well how to react. And I'm telling the same, right? There are plenty of situations where sometimes I need to run from work to pick up my son or something happened, etc. So I do believe like authenticity is the most important. And I've just read a really interesting book like yesterday or the day before, and I read the beautiful sentence that resonated with me. You can't be authentic if you don't know yourself. And this is as well something that like, start with like knowing yourself, what is important for you, what you like, what you don't like. And this is the way like as well, like you can be authentic for others as well, and other will appreciate.
Yeah, I'm reading the book by Brené Brown called Braving the Wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things she talks about is sometimes you're going to be in the wilderness. Maybe you're the only person who believes one thing and the rest of the group believes the other thing. Or maybe you're going to have to make an unpopular decision. And so you kind of have to go this less traveled path. And she said that when you are authentic to yourself, it makes going into the wilderness much easier because you know that you stayed true to yourself and didn't like put on that mask or kind of sacrifice yourself for the sake of being with more people. I don't know if I'm capturing that correctly, but essentially, you know, if you can be authentic and by knowing yourself, then you can also maybe do things that are more difficult because you know that it resonates with you.
Absolutely. And I think as well, like having this brave space, safe space, like whatever we will call it, like that you can be authentic. It also gives a lot as well a space to be more creative, to be more open, and as well be more courageous, right? Because like sometimes we tend to not comment, we tend to not talk or something as well, like to express yourself, like ourselves, because like we are afraid of like as well showing our real nature. It's a very good example as well. Like so I have a lot of energy, right? So it's very difficult to cover. I tried. Like I simply like I can do this for like really short time, and it's always will come out. And in the current position, I just simply said to myself, this is me. This is who I am. I can't pretend that I have like less energy than I have. I can't pretend that I laugh quiet in the nice quiet version. Oh, I can't, right? When I laugh, everybody hears that. So this is as well, like kind of as well showing others that it's okay to be yourself, and this as well like let them as well to be more open and as well like to be more brave in the things that they do, because like if you're more authentic and more brave, you make like of course you will make mistakes, but you will not be afraid of them. You will just simply try. And this is as well like while working with in like designing or like innovations, you just sometimes, or any work, you just sometimes needs to accept the fact that you will make a failure. That's a kind of normal thing.
Yeah. There's a quote that I like, and it's notice who you're with when you feel your best.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that the people who are deeply authentic, even if their authenticity is different than mine, I always feel the best with them because, yeah, I don't know, it's more grounded
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Yeah. And you have the space to make mistakes. And yeah, most of the people that I don't feel my best with, I then realize, okay, I think authenticity is a big part of, you know, being around others that,
And
yeah.
you notice it, right? So it's something
Mhm.
that that makes it so, because you can you can tell people you have to be more authentic, but it's not easy for some people because if they're not connected to themselves, if they don't have empathy for themselves first, so it's really difficult. And so, but you notice that there's something that there's something underneath, and you're gonna like, I don't know, there's something with this person, I don't know, it's kind of funny, right? But you'll notice it, and as a leader, that's so difficult, I can imagine, because at the one point it makes you so vulnerable as well, where actually, and especially in more traditional organizations, they don't expect you to be vulnerable. That's not you shouldn't be. You should know, you should kind of, you're the leader. You should, point the way. You go like, this is the way we're going. And I'm sure, you know, and not being like, I have bad days,
Yeah.
but I think that's a cultural kind of shift that I think we are going through anyway. I think generations, differences in generations and expectations of jobs, and and basically you're a great example of that, of your work, and just what you were saying, private and private life, and your work life, those are not separate. These are connected. These are not, you have one life, right? And so I think that is also very important. That is something that a lot of people also want. You want to have, and we don't all have that luxury, but doing the thing that connects to you as an individual is something that's really rewarding for most people. Then and young people would like to have a job that is part of their identity, right? And so I think our expectation of work and the way we want to kind of connect to our colleagues and our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that is also changing, right? So, because when I had my first job, we didn't have smartphones or WhatsApp or social media, or there was no way in connecting. I couldn't connect to my boss on Twitter, so you didn't, right? That was actually a really weird period of time when that started to happen. When companies were like, what do we do with this?
Yeah.
Like, do we allow? So I was working for this telco, communication department, and the communication people were the only ones with a computer with internet access. Because no one was allowed to go on the internet because it had to be hidden, everything that they were thinking and saying, right? And that was a very interesting period of time. But I think if you look back, so also, if we kind of look back in time, also in the way we have developed as people and as kind of, the way we look at work and job, but also the businesses and the technology, so much has changed. Sometimes we're just not aware of that. So our attitude or behavior as colleagues and as leaders also needs to adapt. And sometimes I think a lot of communities are forgetting that. But listening to you, I think that's really interesting, because you literally almost take your kind of your private life and the learnings you have as a mother, to your job. And I think that's really, really cool, because that makes you a whole person, right? Instead of going, no, I'm the manager, so, that's completely different, and now I'm the mother, which is so weird, because that's not how your brain works.
Absolutely not. And I think it even more creates even more pressure, right? Because of course, if you try to disconnect your like part of your life, and it simply will fall like one day or another, right? So like, and I'm a really good example. It's like sometimes in the meeting that when I see like, okay, like if the school is calling, should I pretend? I was like, oh, school is not calling, right? I don't have to answer for another 5 hours because I'm not mother, right? For the 5 hours. It's not true, right? I just need to like really have a space as well where I feel, okay, at the end, it's like I might be at work, but my primary task as well is being a mother, right? So in this situation, so whatever happens, I will step up from the meeting and I will just simply answer this phone call. Or like the situation, like very good example this week, I just simply needed to go with my son to my work because like I was alone, so he was here, so I was like, okay, let's go together, right? So like let's see like how mommy works. I will show you everything, and then of course you can like support me. And I think having this space and as well giving others this kind of space that you don't have to always like pretend that the other part of the life is not existing, is as well adding as well to the authenticity as well, and as a kind of as well to help others to see, okay, it's like it's way easier for me to work if I know that I can have my life, right? Because like let's make people happy, like with the sense that you're part of your private life is super important for you to be happy at work, and the other way around, right? So it's really like it's a fluid, right? So if you will constantly neglect your private life, you won't be happy at work. Simply story, because you will feel as well like, oh, I have to work more and more and more. I don't have time for like even like relax to do something, like constantly think about work.
But
That's
you
not
but you
gonna.
allow it, you allow it, because you show that, because you're the, you set the example. You say, okay, this is possible, so other people can also lead their life that way. So because you pick up the phone in a meeting because it's cool. And for instance, if my daughter calls me now, I'm going to pick up the phone, right?
Of
Because I'm like,
course,
because what's going on? Because she's 18, so in
but
traveling.
She usually doesn't call. Yeah.
No, she never calls me. If she calls me, there's something like, something's happening,
I need to
right?
ansur.
Why would I then go like, oh, I have to ignore? Because my brain is there. I am
yes,
totally disconnected from the meeting. I'm not listening to anyone anymore. So
yes,
by me doing that, and I had this really interesting moment where, so I was working for this as a consultant for this American company. And because time differences, and it's remote, so I'm in the Netherlands, they are in the US. So for their afternoon is my evening. So I at one point they had a call, wanted to call me and say they want to set up this call, and I said, okay, but give me a moment because I'm reading a bedtime story to my son. And right, so I'm reading a story, so I'll come after. Me saying that, to them, there was like I gave this little kind of little look inside my private life with my son and reading about that story. They were like, that was so amazing, so so human, so like they were so like, wow, and I was like, what, don't you have kids, right? Yeah, they all had kids. And they so, but they never talk about those things. They never mention private things, and reading a bedtime story. They've never heard anyone say that, because it was all business. And
Yeah.
that's weird. That is so weird. So being able, so I had, so, and one of, at the same company, actually, there was a sort of a new manager. And so she did this, this amazing thing, really awesome, where she simply said, before every meeting, we had a meeting before we started talking about business, she would let everyone say in a few words, how are you? Not about business, not about the work, not projects. How are you? How are you feeling? And, in one word or two words, but, and then we had, things like, oh, I'm not feeling really well today because something, and just that little thing, made
Yeah.
such a big difference. Isn't it crazy?
It's so little, but so much as well, right? It's just a simple question. Like what I find is as well like really amazing. Like remembering the names of your partner, remembering the names of your children is so little, right? It doesn't have to be like, it's not a big thing, but it's as well like showing others that as well like I care about you, right? I
Yeah.
care about you, and this is like I care about your life. It's not only that you as a person as well like working with me. No, you're a person. You're still a person.
Yeah. So yeah, in a meeting, one of the meetings, this manager, she said to one of the colleagues, they were new, like, oh, last week you weren't feeling well because something happened, and how are you doing now? And because you had this thing, right? And you could feel sort of that a lot of tension just went away, right? So like, oh, we're not in this serious, corporate meeting. We're in a human conversation. You
Yeah.
could feel them go like, oh, she remembered, and oh, that's really nice. Oh, she means it. It's not again authenticity. So for me it was weird because I have, the first time I had a serious job was like when I was, I think, 23 or so. And then I did that for maybe 2-3 years, and I've never had a serious job again. So so for me, I've always worked with small teams, and we're always friends and agencies, right? So these creative agencies, we're always like buddies and friends, and so it was all about private life. So for me, those
Yeah.
moments are very odd. Yeah.
So you mean the moments that where you separate them are odd?
Where they go like, oh, private
Yeah.
life.
Oh, you read
Oh,
bedtime stories.
you talked about something that happened at home. That is like really, I saw an emotion,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, and we talked about it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
This is the coolest company. I've never like, what's
I
happening?
there was a girl that visited me, and she was working in Silicon Valley as like an investment banker. So a really high job, really, really intense job. And she was on holiday in Europe, and she was like a friend of a friend. So she goes, "Oh, Morgan, you live in the Netherlands. Can I come stay with you for a few days?" I said, "Yes, of course. I'll show you around." So one of my friends had a birthday party on Saturday, and it was like this beautiful little birthday party in the park. And we have fun, great few days together. And as she's leaving, she's like, "Morgan, you have the most beautiful life." And I was like, "Oh, well, thank you, but why?" And she goes, "You could go to a birthday party with your friends on a Saturday." And I was like, "You can't?" She goes, "We usually have to work." And that to me was just, and of course she's at the far end of the spectrum, right? But I was like, I can't live my life like that.
Yeah.
It's not an option for me. I would yeah. So Gabby, if you're out there, I hope things have gotten better.
Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, we talked for a long time. I noticed. I have one last question because it
Mhm.
kept bugging me. Because I hear you say you couldn't swim?
Yeah, I thought I can. I thought I could really. And I was like, okay, I can't. Like, I can't swim, right?
As a
So
Dutch person, that's like, who can't swim? Well, what do you mean? That's the first thing you learn as a
yeah, but
kid.
like for triathlon, you need to swim a bit different, right? So like I think it's as
Yeah.
well like the way how you swim and then the way how you think
Ah.
you swim. Like I could swim in this way, but I was like as well like I wouldn't say it was super like on the high level. And so I've organized myself a coach. I found a coach, and he was like, okay, jump to the pool and show me like you can swim, right? It's like, yeah, I do. I was like, show me. So I did what I thought is a swimming, and he was like, no, you can't. I was like, how
I
come?
don't
Like,
know what
I'm
that
like,
is.
exactly. I'm on the surface. I'm surviving. I'm moving myself. He was like, yeah. this way is, let's call it swimming, right? So like now we need to start from basics. And he showed me like really like techniques and everything. So yes, I've learned quite fast. But yeah, this is a kind of as well of what you think you can and what is actually the reality, right? So this is as well like something what I take as another lesson in my life. Like sometimes we think we can more than we actually can, and as well we need to unlearn what we've learned before and then really start from the very beginning. And that was as well like really funny, like as well for me to learn that no, I can't something as I thought, but it helped me as well to learn the proper swimming, and now I know how to swim.
That's a good story. That's a good story to share as a metaphor for sometimes you have to know what you can do, but you have to find out, right? So yeah, I hear you. I had those experiences.
And you swam enough to complete an Ironman, which is
I did. Oh, so
incredible.
I've learned. But yeah, this is a kind of, sometimes we've got this, I would like the inner software, right? That we sometimes think that we can do stuff. And then sometimes it's like, okay, like it's time to shut down this and then really start to from the very beginning. And this is as well like metaphor of like kind of stuff that I do in my life. Actually, I was in last week in the cinema and I saw beautiful cartoon, really like one of the most like the smartest cartoon that I've seen like since quite a lot of time. It's called Wild Robot. It's a beautiful, like so metaphoric. Like I've cried so much. I've laughed so like I really laughed.
I heard it's spectacular.
It's so beautiful if you see that actually what is behind. So it's a basically robot who is like with a specific software inside, finding himself in the forest, and he needs to right now like learn how to survive with all the animals and all the nature and everything. And his task within the software that he has is to really do the task that people or the kind of like, in this case, animals, of course, give him and to make them happy. And of course, the evaluation, how he delivered the task is like showing him, okay, did I good? Well, I didn't do well. And of course, he's doing lots of mistakes. And then, of course, it's like, well, how to override this software that he has. It's a beautiful cartoon as well, like really showing as well in terms of like not only human beings, as well like leadership and everything. Like you can take all those metaphors if you're open for the metaphors as well for yourself and to see, okay, sometimes I need to forget about my own software and to do stuff differently because it's not suitable as well to others, to the environment or to the circumstances. So yeah, that was like really beautiful moment as well last week to have some reflections on human being and as well like leader.
Cool. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for thanks very much for being on this podcast and sharing your stories.
Thank you so much. If I may just share one metaphor to the end, because I've just really recently heard that and I found it super beautiful. As a leaders, we tend to think that we need to be everything. As a leaders, we tend to think that we need to be the smartest and to have answer on everything. And being a leader sometimes is just like being like a lighthouse. It's just being in the right place and in the right moment and to give the light to others to overcome the storm or just simply guide them to the shore. And I take it very deeply for myself. And so it really helps me as well sometimes to see the perspective that it's not always a be the smartest, not always a be the having answer on everything. Sometimes it's just really just be.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.